In our very first story, the Tsar and Accra Circuit Court has sentenced former senior medical doctor at the Fiankwanta Hospital in Takoradi, Dr. Sule Ali Gabas, to 25 years in prison. Dr. Gabas was, however, acquitted and discharged on the count of having unnatural carnal knowledge of the victim. Dr. Ali Gabas was arrested in 2014 following revelations by Joy News investigative reporter Manasseh Azuri Awene. We'll be bringing you much more on this subsequently. Now, the case involving Agena teachers has been adjourned to July 27. Prosecution asked for more time to signal police officers in Accra who are complainants in the case to appear before court as witnesses. Our correspondent joins us now over the telephone with much more. So I'm joined now over the telephone by Kofi Sian, who is standing by with the very latest on this. So, Kofi, what more can you tell us? What happened in court?
Well, they were brought before court, the 6 of them, and just as you rightly said, the court decided that they postponed the case or adjourned the case to the 27th of this month. The judge gave the reason that the prosecution asked for more time to signal the police officers involved, who are complainants in this case, to appear before court as witnesses. So the judge decided that until they appear before the court, that is 27th of this month, the case must be adjourned.
Can you take us back briefly to this story? I mean, the background to this story. What really are these people facing trial for?
Well, 3 of these teachers were arrested initially in connection with examination malpractices. They were actually caught. They were actually caught explaining or teaching some of these students what actually will happen in the examination, and they were picked up by the police. So later, police investigated and picked another 3, making 6 in all. So the modus operandi, according to the police, is that these teachers allegedly solved the questions and then supply candidates with duplicates of the questions as well as the answers. So when they caught them, they found with them a Canon camera, a laptop computer, and some other items. So they were brought to court for the first time, and the judge adjourned it to today, and he is also adjourned it to 27th of this month. Sorry.
Right. Kofi, thank you very much for that update. We'll be coming back to you later on for much more on this. Now, the Ashanti Regional Police has mounted a search for 2 prisoners who broke jail in that region. The Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ashanti Regional Police Service, George Owusu, has been telling us more about the incident.
I also want to make it clear, it wasn't a prison break, as probably some media houses are speculating. It wasn't a prison break. It was an escape. And then currently, as I'm talking to you, our men are on the ground doing everything possible to recapture the 2 inmates who took to their heels.
So do we know the identities of these 2 persons who have managed to escape?
Yeah, see, for security reasons, you can't give their names out.
Really?
Yes.
I see. Don't you think putting out their details may even be of help to the police, may even help us identify these persons and help them get rearrested?
Currently, as I'm talking to you, investigation is ongoing, and we are even in a meeting to move ahead. That's why I'm saying currently we can't give the identity out, but probably after the meeting, we'll be able to give their names and even everything the public may need.
Okay, so you tell us it wasn't a prison break, but they managed to some way, somehow escape.
Yes, escape. The whole thing is that, you know, prison service and where the things happen, Amount from Camp Prison, okay, it's a farming station. So they went to the vegetable farm to work. And then the other one also went to the piggery side to work. And it was there that the whole thing or the whole incident happened. It's not like maybe they were in the yard, that they escaped from the yard, or maybe they broke through the walls of Amanfo. It's not like that. They went on outside labor that worked on the prison farm, and then the incident that happened.
So it was outside the prison's environment. That's what you say?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so then obviously they were being monitored by certain people. Are we looking at charging certain people with negligence as of now?
That's what I'm saying. Currently, investigation is ongoing. I don't want to draw conclusion that it's the negligence of someone. But at the end of the day, whatever will transpire, you shall make it available.
The officers who were supervising these persons as they embarked on this particular exercise, be proud to their escape. Have you interrogated them in any way, and what has been their account?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Currently, they are under investigation.
Those officers are under investigations?
Yes, as to what really happened.
How many of them?
Come again?
How many of them? These officers?
You see, that's what I'm saying. For all these things, we cannot give it out. But after the meeting, everything will be given out. Yes.
I see. So
And don't also forget that one officer is for prisoners. When they
Now, help is yet to reach hundreds of residents in the Tripone and the Sanerigu districts of the northern region who have been displaced following a heavy downpour in the communities last night. Joy News' northern regional correspondent Hashmin Mohammed reports the displaced residents are still struggling to cope. Let's speak to Hashmin now and find out if there's been any change in the situation so far. Hashmin, what's the latest now? Are these people getting help finally?
Well, they are yet to get help because not more officials are yet to visit the affected persons. My understanding from these victims are that for them, what they eventually need is for few authorities to construct drains around the community and then also pull down houses that have been built on waterways, because the fears from the residents are that if there is any rain again, it will worsen their plight again. They have also been counting their loss and trying to salvage the remains of what they have lost in the torrential rain.
Hashmin, does that in any way suggest that this is a perennial thing? This is a problem that has existed this whole time?
Yes, this is a perennial issue that has been existing in that particular community, that's Kumane and then Campos in our unit. According to the residents, somewhere last year, the assembly decided to construct a retention pond to harvest water, flood water from the area. Now, the contractor that they have awarded the contract to is not showing enough commitment in terms of executing the job. So it's virtually all the time when it rains, the water goes directly to their rooms, and then always it's causing destruction and then loss of life. For them, they are thankful that this time around, no life has been lost, but the destruction itself is very huge.
Many thanks, Hashmin, for your time on news today. That was Hashmin Mohammed, Northern Regional Correspondent. Let's now get in touch with our Volta Regional Correspondent, Ivy Setoji, who also reports of similar incidents in Keta and particularly the Akachi South District, where many have lost their homes and property to rains there over the weekend. So Ivy joins me now over the telephone. So Ivy, how are victims coping now?
Well, they are okay. Most of them that are associated, they are coping. Some of them have returned to their homes. They are back to their homes now. Some are still outside, but with families and friends. But what they want is a bridge, a small bridge, according to them, that can help them so that every year or anytime it rains and the place gets flooded, they can just use the bridge, and then especially the children, the school children who goes to school every day, and the market women, the traders who normally goes to market with their foodstuff, they can also have access instead of crossing the river. So that is what they want the government to do. They also told me that the NADMO and the District Assembly, accompanied by the DCE, came to give them a promise that they will bring some help, some relief items and some canoes to help them. They are waiting for that. They said they are happy to, but they are still waiting to see if these people would deliver on their promise. So that is what is on the ground now.
Many thanks for your time, Ivy Setoji. And Ivy Setoji is a Volta Regional Correspondent. Now, malfunctioning access control system at the Job 600 complex built to serve as offices for members of parliament is hindering the use of the edifice.
The project, started in 1965 by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, cost $63 million and has since undergone various modifications. Joy News has learned issues relating to access controls to the building and computers to the 230 offices remain unresolved. Deputy Ranking Member on the Works and Housing Committee, Justice Joe Appiah, is unhappy the House Committee, chaired by the Majority Leader, has done very little in fixing the challenge. He tells Joy News Parliament must put pressure on the contractors to resolve the access systems immediately.
The House Committee is mandated to take care of the offices of the MPs, the welfare of MPs. And the House Committee is dominating the floor of the House. We have to be very serious. The House Committee has a very big responsibility in terms of welfare for members of Parliament. So if these committees are dormant and we don't work, it means government business cannot also not go on. And members of Parliament will still transact business in their car boots. This is what we are talking about. In this modern age, members of Parliament transact business in their car boots. This is a very wonderful edifice, and we are very, very grateful. Now, this project was supposed to be completed last year. We couldn't move in. This year, we have not moved in. We're told May it will be completed. May, we haven't got it. June is gone. Now we are in July. So can we be repeating always, talking about it, the floor of the House always? So I drew the attention of the leadership of this House, including Mr. Speaker, to address this issue, that the House Committee is mandated to take care of all these things. And I learned there is a caucus meeting, a joint caucus meeting on Wednesday. So I think after Wednesday, we'll be able to address all these issues. That those offenses at the second floor and the third floor, theirs are almost completed. It's left with the computers and the access control system. That is all.
Meanwhile, the committee will on Wednesday meet to discuss outstanding issues relating to the occupation of the Job 600 building. It is unlikely all 275 members will move into the office before Parliament rises this month.
We're taking a break here on News Today. We'll return shortly with some more. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, security has been beefed up in Bimbilla after 13 people died in last week's gun battle in that area. The unfortunate incident also left scores injured. Now, following the violence, a curfew has been placed in the area to ensure peace. ASP Ebenezer Tete is the police public relations officer in the northern region.
The place is very calm and very quiet. And, over the last 24 hours, I've been in constant chat with the district police commander and then the heads of the other units who are in Bimbilla helping to maintain law and order there and to ensure that the curfew is enforced. And the reports I'm getting from the ground is that everything is calm.
We're told of some gunshots heard early Friday morning. The police told us that, well, you were conducting some investigations to find out who exactly fired those shots and what might have possibly happened afterwards. Is there any update on that as well?
Yeah, it was still some gunshots were heard early Friday morning, but shortly after the arrival of the anti-terrorism unit, the gunshots that we heard from some direction ceased. And it has been so since then. Since the anti-terrorism unit arrived and the reinforcement that we sent there, no such, gunshots have been heard from any part of the township. And with the curfew in place and with the security in charge, if there's any gunshot from any part of the township, the security will be placed quickly and just those who are firing those gunshots and the exact place where the gunshots are being heard from, because now the environment is conducive for the police to do patrols and they are covered everywhere, so if there's any problem, we'll be able to trace it to where.
Dozens of people are without shelter today after their homes were demolished over the weekend. The area, once home to businesses such as drinking sports and cattle rearing, is now an empty field with debris.
Tenders is appealing to the government if they can come to their aid. As at now, they destroy everything. The money that they've got, they've destroyed everything. They didn't take anything apart from the dog that she's able to bring it out. She cannot bring anything about what is here. And as at now, she don't have any place to go and sleep. From here, he will arrange the place and have a place to sleep with the child.
Right now that she doesn't know where she is.
Yeah.
How is she going to take care of the baby? Where's the baby to sleep?
He says who hold in that is, he says who hold in that is, you don't get anything to do.
I'm here with my wife and my 2 children, and some of our brothers also are here. And now I take them to a Venus school over there. So now they are sleeping over there. So I'm also sleeping there. We, those who have a wife and then children, they took all of us to there. And those who don't have the wife with the children, and there's the those who have been sleeping here, you see them inside the benches. They are lying on benches up to daytime.
We have animals that we take care of. The day they started destruction, that was the very day that we lost a lot of animals. They are our livelihood.
Where did the animals go?
We don't know where they ran to, because a cow, you can't able to struggle with a cow. Some die mercilessly, because right now, those that even left, the money you used to go and buy and come and sell, right now when you are selling them in the market, they lose market price.
The Progressive People's Party is accusing election observers of bias in the Talensi by-election. At a media briefing today, the Progressive People's Party mentioned the Talensi by-election as an example of the accusation. They claim none of the election observers gave details of the violence that characterized the elections, but rather declared it free and fair. National Secretary Kofi Asamoah says the PPP would be forced to raise their own form of Azoka boys to defend the party when they feel cheated in any election.
Election observers and so on, they also have become a cover-up for stealing and cheating in election.
Do you have evidence?
But that's what they do.
Do you have evidence?
Go and read their reports. All the things that happened in Talensi, the vote buying, the use of state vehicles by the president and ministers and everybody who came there. We went to Talensi. We didn't have 4-wheel drives belonging to the state, but the entire NDC machinery was there with state machinery, state fuel, state vehicles and resources, even national security protection for the record.
And your argument for
it's an abuse, it's an unfair. So how do we call them? The election observers should stop this thing that it was free and fair. What did they mean when they say free and fair?
What did you want them to say instead?
That they should be able to tell us where those monies came from.
What is your antidote for the violence that you say is gaining momentum in the country with regards to elections?
Well, they should stop. And we have seen that all the commitments, you can talk about the Kumasi Declaration prior to the 2012 elections and so on. All those ones didn't work. Probably what they will listen to is when we raise our own army. Yes.
So is that what you are going to do?
But we are watching. But why? We can't continue to be cheated and keeping quiet. Enough will be enough. You think only NDC people know where to buy guns?
The indication I'm getting from you is you are planning, you are thinking of also raising Azoka boys.
We said we can also raise an army of sea lions.
Hold on, please. The indication I'm getting from you is that PPP is intending to also raise a PPP form of Azoka.
Our real intention is that the people who have been credited as keeping the peace are not the people who are keeping the peace. It is rather us who have chosen not to go the same line. So if it doesn't stop, we can also raise an army. As for guns, why? Blacksmith people. So they should not delude themselves that they are the only people who have monopoly over violence.
You have said the violence must stop, so why are you even considering this?
So there should be strong indication that it has stopped.
But why are you considering that?
It's because we can't take the cheating any longer.
Then you add to the violence.
Well, you see, that is why the danger, the signal has been given, that this is what is going on, this is what is likely will happen as far as PPP is concerned. But we have chosen in the past and now not to engage in those things. You think when Dr. Indum was in Talensi to campaign, we can't get 1,000 people to feed and come and cause the commotion people caused? You think we don't have the capacity to do that? Because we chose not to. So if somebody can go to national security to get a state official to be issued a gun for protection, we can buy it on our own.
To some more news now, and President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana may soon take after the example of Rwanda and completely ban the use of plastics. According to the president, the ban may have to be implemented if the polluting effects of the non-biodegradable substance is not contained. He made the observation at the 16th edition of the annual Republic Day Health Walk over the weekend.
Go and clean. We should go with the sanitation court and the sanitation judge. And instead of National Sanitation Day going to clean, the judge will be following. And when your place is dirty, we'll just arraign you right there. He will fine you or convict you, and they'll send you to sleep in Sawan for 2 days. And when you come back, I'm sure that you'll come and clean. Plastics have become such a pollutant in our environment that if the producers of plastics don't do something about it, then we might have to go the Rwanda way. We need to come out with a solution to this plastic thing, or else then we must, if we can't handle and manage plastic waste, then we must ban it.
Meanwhile, Ghanaians have voiced support for a ban on plastic waste to help protect the environment. Well, as you all know, President John Dramani Mahama on Saturday hinted Ghana may soon take after the example of Rwanda and completely ban the use of plastics.
Banning plastics from the country, do you think it's a good decision?
Yes, I think so.
Why do you think it's good to ban plastics?
Well, it's because it can't easily dispose. So then using an alternative means of carrying our goods will be better. Like maybe paper easily disposes when you throw it away. So yeah, I think it's a good way to go.
I think that's a good decision for them to ban it, because it's difficult to degrade, and it would also add up to pollution in the environment. Yeah.
But so you think the government should ban it totally from the country?
Yes. We can even use, when they sell food like this, we can use paper bags instead of rubber bags.
We have learned people have been taking it, and at the end of the day, they use it for recycling bins and for different procedures altogether. So I don't think the government should just it should keep buying it. So you
don't think the government should ban plastic from the system?
I don't think so.
The Christian Council of Ghana is calling on the president to publicly announce Ghana's policy on same-sex marriage. The General Secretary of the Council, Reverend Dr. Kwabna Opuni-Frimpong, says this has become imperative because of the recent American decision to legalize same-sex marriages. He's worried that nations that provide economic support to Ghana could mount undue pressure on the country to adopt same-sex legislation.
Same-sex marriage in some of our key partners, developmental partners, countries like US, are finding its way into constitutions. Now, when it happens like that, and such nations are your key partners, you only must also take a position and let your people know, that fine, these people are still our friends, nothing has changed in terms of our bilateral relationship. However, if we get to this point, we part, because this is not part of us. And we have a history to that effect, that our former President, Professor Mills, may he rest in peace, and he set the parameters for us that we as a people cannot go that way. And even if it happens that somebody wants to play same-sex card as a condition for support, whatever form, loan, donation, he, then president, will not accept it. And there may be a need for affirmation that as a policy statement and policy direction, nothing has changed. So the current administration, and with the recent development in US, may need to come out to affirm the former administration and the former president direction that we have not changed anything.
Well, good afternoon. You're still here on News Today. My name is Benedict Owusu, and we'll talk sports now. In our very first story, Kumasi Asante Kotoko will face Midday SC in the finals of this year's MTN FA Cup competition after both teams progressed at the expense of Aduana Stars and Accra Hearts of Oak over the weekend. That was played on Friday and Saturday. So we'll check the results. Kumasi Asante Kotoko defeated the Aduana Stars by 3-1, and Accra Hearts of Oak also lost to Midday SC by 2-1. That match actually was played at the Robert Mensah Stadium in Cape Coast yesterday, and the match involving Kumasi Asante Kotoko and the Aduana Stars was played on Friday at the Sunyani Coronation Park. So Kumasi Asante Kotoko will come up against Midday SC in the finals of this year's MTN FA Cup, and this happens to be the second time they will be meeting in the last 3 years in the final of the MTN FA Cup competition. The last time they met was in 2013. Well, we can do some other stories, and nominations for the election of the Ghana Football Association top seat will officially open today. And as it stands now, it is unclear if anybody will contest sitting President Kwesi Nyantakyi. But there are reports that Randy Abe, who is tipped to challenge Nyantakyi, has ruled himself out of the race. Names like Fred Papo, who was former vice president of the association, and former Kumasi Asante Kotoko CEO Herbert Mensah have come up. Anybody within the association interested in contesting Nyantakyi will have 4 days to get 11 people in the fraternity to endorse their candidature. So from now till God willing, Thursday, if you want to contest President Kwesi Nyantakyi as the Ghana Football Association president, then you would have to make your way to the Ghana Football Association and pick your forms, get 1 person to endorse your candidature, and also 11 more people before you can become the next president or can contest Kwesi Nyantakyi in the elections on August 17. Well, we can do some more stories, and Emmanuel Ajimambedu has denied reaching an agreement to join English Premier League side Stoke City. Now, Italian sports newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport reported on Friday that Udinese have agreed to sell Emmanuel Ajimambedu to Stoke City. But according to the report in a leading Italian newspaper, the transfer fee is 6.5 million euros. However, the Ghana international says no deal has been reached for him to move to the English Premier League side.
I saw it as well, but I haven't spoke to anyone at Stoke City. I went to UK to meet some dignitaries about certain stuff. I don't want to go into it. But right now the window is still open, so who knows, anything can happen at any given time. I'm just concentrating on Udinese now, and you will see till August if any move will come or I will stay.
That's all with me, Benedict Owusu. Stay tuned, the news continues.
Now back to our very first story. And an Accra Circuit Court has sentenced former senior medical doctor at the Fiankwanta Hospital in Takoradi, Dr. Suleali Gabas, to 25 years in prison. Dr. Gabas was, however, acquitted and discharged on the count of having a natural canal knowledge of the victim. Dr. Ali Gabas was arrested in 2014 following revelations by Joy News investigative reporter Manasseh Azuri Awene. Now, Joy News court correspondent Kwache Afreniama witnessed today's proceedings and joins me now in studio with more. Afre, welcome back. So, what reason did the judge give for this ruling?
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, the two charges here, essentially the first one being defiling a child under 16 years, the second one being having a natural carnal knowledge. On the first charge, which is again defiling a child under 16 years, which the court maintained, of course, the second one was struck out. The presiding judge, Rita Ajimambedu, mentioned that the prosecution had provided evidence beyond reasonable doubt that Dr. Ali Gabas indeed defiled the 16-year-old victim. Of course, in cases of this nature, criminal cases basically, the onus lies on the prosecution to provide this proof beyond reasonable doubt. And the court, the circuit court, says that they have done that. Of course, one of the contentious issues was about the age of this 16-year-old victim. And even though lawyers for Dr. Gabas had insisted that the victim is indeed was below 16 years as of the time the incident occurred, the prosecution has said that he was below 16 years. And one of the main arguments that the prosecution had, the defense lawyers, that's lawyers for Dr. Gabas, had put forward was that the prosecution, that's lawyers for the state, had failed to present any substantive evidence, and mainly a birth certificate. What they had presented rather was his medical records and records from his school indicating that he was born in May 1998. And so the court said that even in the absence of the birth certificate, this was enough. And again, the judge mentioned one of the reasons she gave this verdict was to serve as a deterrent to all those who may want to conceive the thought of doing same. She mentioned the fact that there is a lot moral decadence in our society today. But on the second charge of unnatural carnal knowledge, the reason that that particular charge was struck out was that, according to presiding judge Rita Ajimambudu, inherent in the charge of defilement itself is a crime of unnatural carnal knowledge. So the prosecution did not need to bring up this second charge at all, since defilement encompasses that particular charge as well. And I spoke to, after court proceedings today, lawyers on both sides. Well, in this case, a lawyer, a human rights lawyer, Francis Sosu, who's been holding watching brief for the victim, an interested party in this regard, and Fixin Owu, who is Dr. Gaba's lawyer, one of the lawyers on his legal team. They talk about, appealing this decision by the circuit court. We can listen to them.
Absolutely, because the case of Dr. Ali Gabas is a landmark case which needs to send messages out there to everyone that no one is above the law. If you are found culpable, or if you are in conflict with the law and the state is able to prove your guilt beyond reasonable doubt, you will face the full rigors of the law. What we are satisfied about is the fact that no one can get away, from the law, if regardless of your position in society, considering what Dr. Ali Gabas is doing for society, and given the fact that he's a medical doctor, people may think that he could either just pardoned, or justice could be twisted to his favor. But in this case, you would realize that once the case was proven beyond reasonable doubt, the judge went ahead and handed him the highest maximum sentence, particularly considering the fact that the act complained about did not happen once, not twice, not three times. But
though I was in the courtroom, I was surprised by the ruling of the court. I believe the court should have given them, something below the 25 years. Since he's a first offender, he's not known to the law. He hasn't committed such an offense before, and we believe it's on the high side. Taking into consideration the fact that he's a medical officer, and then society will need him, I believe the sentence should have been, on the lower side.
Are you considering an appeal?
Yeah, we are. So from here, we're going to appeal we're going to ask for the records, the judgment, the record of proceeding, and then put out the necessary documents together.
What makes this appeal necessary? Some would say that the court has already stated that the evidence before it was beyond.
That's the opinion of the judge, and then we're going to a higher court who all have to look at the evidence all over again, and then see whether it merits the 25 years or not.
Well, so that was lawyer for the doctor there, Dr. Sule Ali Gabas, and I still have Kwacha Frenema here with me. So finally, before you go, talk to me about, well, I'm looking at Dr. Ali Gabas, and he doesn't look so unhappy.
Exactly.
Was that his mood throughout the time?
Throughout the court proceedings, and after the court delivered this verdict, it was clear that Dr. Gabas was unperturbed by the ruling. 25 years, the maximum here. And what he said is that, well, this could happen to anybody, and that he knows that he served his country well. So he's not bothered at all about this, unlike reactions from his family members who are clearly disoriented by this decision by the circuit court, especially Dr. Gabas' wife.
All right, thank you very much, Afre. And we are also told, there was a cameraman who was assaulted, right? Okay, we'll bring you much more on that on the Pulse at 3 p.m. and time now for us to take a break. When we come back, we have some entertainment for you. Veteran musician Akosua Ejapon is cautioning young musicians to refrain from using profane lyrics in their songs. According to her, there's a high probability that artists who do profane songs will be forgotten after enjoying hits for a few months. She said, quote, If the songs I did are still growing with me, then I tell you that music lives. But when you write a song and it becomes a hit for 3 or 5 months and it's gone, then you are not a musician. Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment. We'll be back shortly to wrap up the bulletin. Well, that will be it for the broadcast desire. My name is Kobna Chenche Hinibotin. For more news, do all to log on to myjonline.com. Enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.